I also just want to acknowledge, like, humans have incredible tasks and responsibilities and
Sure.
duties, and it's important that we're honorable and we really attend to those in a noble, great way, but we can have fun as much as
Yes.
possible
Yes.
while we do it. And if we have this kind of connectedness within ourselves, it just really helps. It helps us be filled with joy and good humor all the time.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. It's Audley Stevenson. I'm here for another edition of the most audacious podcast internet has to offer. I appreciate you for being here and checking out the Audacious Living Podcast. Of course, it's our ongoing goal to help our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. And I appreciate you for being a part of the journey with us. Now, this is episode 246 of the podcast, and on this edition, we'll explore the transformative power of presence and self-improvement. We have the honor of featuring Swami Nityananda, a spiritual teacher, author, professor, and speaker who will share her insights on the importance of being present in daily life, finding joy in difficult times, inner strength, personal growth, impacting relationships positively, and embodying kindness and inspiration. Join us as we embark on a wonderful journey of self-discovery with Swami. Empowerment is big for her as well. It really is a fantastic conversation. Get ready to be inspired and uplifted on your path to living your best audacious life ever. Stay tuned. Hello, Swami. Thank you for being here and joining me on the Audacious Living Podcast. I say always and often I'm so appreciative of individuals spending the time and engaging in heartful, fruitful conversations like the one we're about to get into. So thank you for being here.
Audley, it's amazing to be with you, and thank you for your warmth and your smile.
Thank you. I'm happy to share it. I'm happy to share it with you and everyone else. Now, so I have a sort of deep appreciation for the work that you do with respect to helping people find that inner joy and peace. I've always said and truly believe that's something that we all want. And the path that we take to get there is different. It's not the same, but it's still an important path to take because it's our own. So I've got mine, you've got yours, Jim has his, Sally has hers, and whatever they do to get there is, that's theirs and ownership. And that's the piece around it that I love. Yoga is a big part of it. You're a spiritual teacher, and you essentially help people awake. Is that fair to say?
So, I mean, let me just introduce. I'm in Baltimore right now,
Okay.
and I'm speaking sort of like not on behalf of myself, but on behalf of a meditation community. And the community is named Awake Yoga Meditation, and we're a meditation community in the yogic tradition. We were founded by my teacher. My teacher was Swami Shankarananda, and he gave me the name Swami Nityananda and consecrated me as a Swami. And so he asked me to share the teachings of yoga philosophy and the teachings of meditation. And so I've been doing that since 2014. It's a great joy. And we welcome humans from all backgrounds, all walks of life, all faith traditions, all nationalities. And we help people connect. I think you were mentioning this. Every human has the ability to connect within ourselves with joy and peace continually and independent of what's going on in the outer world, and
Right.
also independently of whatever emotional things we might be going through, there's still a possibility of connecting with this joy and peace. So that's what we do, and I help with that, and the whole community is established in that and dedicated to that as well. So it's this amazing community of humans. It's so much fun.
It sounds fun first and foremost, everyone working towards that same thing, joy and peace. And so there's I can see the goodness that sort of comes from that on a regular basis. Like everyone's doing that. So to being in that environment sounds beautiful. Um, if I could ask her, what sort of got you on the path? You said since 2014 that you've been doing this. What got you? And you sort of talked about being I guess appointed as a Swami and going through that process. What was life like before that?
So I met my teacher in 2010, and I was like there. We still meditate. We meditate Sundays, Fridays, and Tuesdays, and we do it online as well. So you're
Yeah.
welcome wherever you are around the world. You're welcome to join us. And I walked in to this meditation, and then shortly after that, my teacher walked in. And the only thing that I can say is like when you meet a teacher who is like established in this joy and peace, it's like meeting sunshine. Like it's like meeting sunshine in the form of a human. And so in 2010, when I met my teacher, I would just say like that was a transformation. Like my life changed. Before that, I had already done like yoga and meditation, but it was just like this absolute unfurling of dedication and commitment and devotion to sharing what we're talking about, to sharing this joy and peace. So my teacher trained me, and then he passed. He left the body, as yogis say, in 2014. So he asked me to sort of carry on. And happily, like there's this amazing group of other humans who are also doing this. So it's just been like walking in the light with a whole bunch of amazing humans the whole way through. It's just been really fun.
And was that something that you were searching for prior to, or did you know you were missing it? Because I think for some people, they're just unaware of what's happening to them. They might have feelings of maybe fatigue or tiredness, and they know something is happening, but they can't label it. Where were you?
So I was born in Washington State, and I'm inviting everyone to think about just like where you were born and what your earliest awareness was. My earliest awareness was that my body is connected to the natural world, and the natural world is connected to my body. The part of the state that I grew up in is like all evergreens and mountains and lakes, and nature is just sort of like this force, like you have to reckon with it. And so that was just like part of my awareness. And so I grew up with that connectedness and um, began practicing yoga. I'm guessing about 20 years ago. There were two of my friends, like right in a row, like back to back, said, "Oh, I go to yoga. Why don't you come to yoga with me?" And the second friend, I was like, "Okay, I'll go." So I listened and I went and I just loved it. And for me, it almost immediately after that unfolded into meditation as well. The two kind of go hand in hand. And that's another thing that I would say for anyone who has a yoga asana practice, like that's the practice of yoga postures. And I think there's like 20 or 30 million people in North America that
Yeah.
practice that kind of yoga. Traditionally, that prepares the body so that you can sit quietly and then you're ready for meditation. And so that was very naturally, like that just unfolded very naturally for me and just has been an incredible source of inspiration and delight.
Mm-hmm. As you said, sit quietly and preparing for meditation. I was actually thinking about sitting quietly with ourselves, and I think
Yeah.
that's really important that we're
Yeah.
able to do that. Because that really that would be the starting point, wouldn't it?
It's so beautiful to be able to sit quietly with yourself. I totally agree. Yeah, so sitting quietly with yourself, and that's sort of like the individual meditation practice. And then when you practice in community, that's like it amplifies the quiet, it amplifies the peace. And so then of course, like there's it amplifies the natural joy that arises from that as well.
It essentially, and I know we sort of touched on it, Swami, but I wonder if you can be we could be very specific as to what does the act of meditation, what does that do for us individually?
So I think for each human, we each register it in a different way. What you are basically doing is becoming one with yourself, and you're also becoming one with what is. So for many people, like I'm comfortable using the word the divine or God, but for whatever your name for it is, like some people might say, "Oh, I become one with my higher self," or "I become one with the
Right.
universe." But you become one with the source of peace, which is amazing because then you're never disconnected from peace. And it's like that peace that is there, like even in the midst of like a howling storm, the source of peace is still there. And so when you have that connectedness inwardly, the truth is it's always there for every human.
Mm.
Every human, we've got this connectedness. When you have the awareness of that connectedness, then no matter what happens, you're able to just walk forward step by step, just moment by moment, choice by choice, thought by thought. And you're able to do it being fully present. And also, I would just say, like, filled with joy and insight right in the midst of daily life. So it helps us be more present with our relationships, with our families, with our kids and our parents. If we have a partner, with our partner, at our work, like whatever, we might be like in a very high powered, dynamic business environment, wherever we are, it helps us be open and present, just sort of like calm and centered and grounded. But then also there's like the wind is at your back, and all of these like insights and connections come to you that otherwise would not come to you.
I love the conversation around being present. I think for a lot of times, for a lot of people, not being present is sort of the starting point of when things sort of fall apart, if you will. They're not recognizing sort of the moments that we have, whether it be whether it be with our family or friends or even the world around us, nature, not being present and being able to appreciate those moments to show we can and have gratitude in our lives. I want to sure we can talk about the significance of being present, because I do think it's really powerful.
I think when we are fully present, and so I'm inviting listeners to tune into this, like those fully present moments. Like, for example, last Saturday, I was with a 4-week-old baby. And like being with a 4-week-old baby, I mean, it's like this little package of human. There's just like nothing like it. And it's just so precious. Like, it's like when you walk into a temple or a synagogue or whatever holy sacred space you walk into, and there's almost like that hushed quiet of the sacred. And it's there in the trees, like when you listen to the trees, or like at the top of the mountains, or the wildflowers. But like in the presence of that 4-week-old baby, that just hushed, precious, beautiful sacredness. It was so vivid. It was so tangible. It was so palpable. And so to help ourselves notice like that sacredness, it's right here. Like it is right where we are. It is. And it's also like that was just a very precious example that I gave, but
Yes,
it's also
yes,
like if I need to go clean my kitchen floor later today and I'm down on my hands and knees, it's also right there, like in the soap and in the water and in the hands and in the knees, like that sacred, precious life. Like it's the vastness of life, and it's realizing that all of that energy that moves the sun and the moon and the stars and that is present like in that little 4-week-old baby package, like it's also
yeah.
gonna be cleaning my kitchen floor later through me. And so
It may
then
not be
I
the
can
same
have,
level of awesome, but it's still awesome, right?
it's awesome. Yeah, exactly. And so then you have just like a much more lightheartedness and much more joy,
Yeah,
like even in the midst of, I also just want to acknowledge like humans have incredible tasks and responsibilities and
sure.
duties, and it's important that we're honorable and we really attend to those in a noble, great way, but we can have fun as much as
Yeah,
possible
yes, yes.
while we do it. And if we have this kind of connectedness within ourselves, it just really helps. It helps us be filled with joy and good humor all the time.
Yes, yeah. Whether it be on our hands and knees scrubbing the kitchen floor with the baby, it can be awesome. And so I love that approach. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important, and we've all heard, people put off almost like they're putting off their happiness, right? When I achieve this thing, then I'll be happier. When I achieve this thing, then I'll start enjoying my life. And I really think that it's possible to do both at the same time, because by not doing that, you're missing out on being present in the moments like we talked about.
I totally agree. So don't laugh, but this image was coming to me like if you've ever tried to pick up a piece of soap and the soap is wet, it kind of like keeps squirting out of your hands, you know?
No, you said
Like
not to
if
laugh. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try not to laugh.
yeah. So that's what, if we wait, that's what happens.
Yeah,
Is like it keeps like eluding our grasp.
yeah,
But if we allow ourselves to be happy right now in the present moment, then what happens is the soap is like it's going to be in our hands, it's
yeah,
going to be in our grasp. So I would absolutely say don't wait, don't delay joy, don't delay the celebration. Like it's right where you are. Like it's in your breath, it's in your heartbeat, it's in every step that you're taking. And then what happens, there's also just like this incredibly vivid, I don't know how to say it other than like energy current
Okay.
that just helps you do whatever you want to do. So for like athletes, it helps you train and it helps you perform like at your peak. Or for like a surgeon, it helps you be just so calm and so wise and so steady, but also just like brilliant and incisive and inspired. Whatever your work is, it just helps you be like at the top of your game, like all the time, because you're in this current of energy, you're in this current of joy and this current of like life that is flowing through you. And so you might be working the hardest you've ever worked,
Yeah.
but you also have this sense of like, I'm not doing anything at all, because it's like this giant current of life that is actually doing the work through you.
I love it. It reminds me of a story. I remember a good friend of mine. He was going through just a really difficult personal challenge, and I remember him describing it as sort of the worst, personal moment he's ever had to go through an experience. I was providing support and guidance and helping him as he's going through this. And it was one instance where there was a family gathering. He had a family gathering, and he comes from a very big family. And I kind of stood back, and as I was watching him, he was having a ball. He was delightful with joy. In fact, I remember taking this one photo where a group of people got together, and I took the photo, and I looked at him, and you could see the elation in joy. And I went over to him and I said, I want you to remember this feeling, because remember, you're going through the worst moment in your entire life. And look how good you're feeling. And look how much joy you have. And really what that says and reinforces that we can find them even in our most difficult moments.
That is so beautiful. Oh my
Mm,
gosh. I mean, thank you so much for your friend, but also for everyone for that reminder. That is so beautiful.
yeah.
That even in the midst of the most challenging, those moments of elation are here. And that's so beautiful that you helped your friend connect with that.
Yeah. I did, and it was a lesson for me as well. And even before we went live, we were just talking about smiling and smiling through, not smiling because everything's going perfect in our lives, right? Smiling because we're naturally happy and joyful. I oftentimes sort of like to use this analogy of life being like hills and valleys, right?
Right.
So, on the hills, everything is great. We're happy. We've got satisfaction, fulfillment, that we're celebrating, we're having a great time. But as life sometimes goes, you sort of get down the valley where there's a bit of a dip, and sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. It's not a fun place to be. But it's also, but there's also recognition that that's not the destination. The bottom of the valley isn't where we're meant to stay. We're meant to go through that. And I think for individuals, they get caught in thinking this is sort of my end goal, and I'm stuck. I wonder if you sort of talk about some of the things that people can do to kind of get themselves unstuck and get themselves out of that valley where it doesn't feel good.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, just thank you for naming that, because it is like a very common feature of human experience. And
Great.
one of the things that the yogis say, you named this with the mountains and the valleys, the yogis say that we experience the pairs of opposites. So it's a natural thing that sometimes you feel like you're experiencing gain, but also sometimes you feel like you're experiencing loss. And so to just know that the core of you is always with you. So like that core piece, that core smile ability that you were talking about, it's actually always with you. And then to sort of know that each of us, by the time we've been here a little while, we also have behind us the awareness that, okay, I've moved through challenging things before. I've always found a way forward. On the other side of those challenges, there were often incredible gifts, and I was able to be more compassionate, probably, and more helpful, probably,
Yeah.
because I went through those challenges. And so, if we allow ourselves to keep moving forward, it takes courage to keep an open heart in the midst of those challenges. It takes courage to allow yourself to have that smile and to have that light. I mean, another word that comes to me, like you could use the word like courage or faith or trust or fortitude or perseverance. You sort of just keep going, and you think about all your ancestors who also kept going, and their
Mhm.
love and their strength is with you, and that can also be incredibly helpful as well. And then you also sort of have this trust that we are here to be helpful to one another. We are here to be hopeful for one another. And so if we are facing a challenge, whatever we learn through facing that challenge, we're going to be able to be more present and more
Mhm.
inspiring to other people on the other side of that challenge. And so it just sort of, if you have that dedication of like, how can I allow all experiences to help me keep my heart open, to help me gain wisdom, let go of the pain as soon as I can. Like, let's not hold on to the pain, but keep the wisdom that we have gathered. And then always just rededicate ourselves. Like, how can I be more of service? Like, how can I use this to be more present and to help other people know like they can keep going too. Like they've got this. They've got this. The wind is at their back.
I love the question, how can I use this, right? And again, it's recognizing that I'm going through this for a purpose. And I'm also, I want to be very careful when I talk about, when we say we go through bad things for a purpose, because I don't want to make it sound like, hey, we're not honoring the pain that people will have to deal with, because there is some real pain and tragedies and struggles that are out there. But there's still, but having said that, there are still lessons that we can take from that to use that to propel forward. And so that's the piece that I often like to focus on. The other thing that you said, that well, you say a lot of things I've loved so far, but one thing that you've said that I absolutely love, when you talked about sort of our past victories, if you will, you alluded to that, and past successes, and I've done this before, I can do it again. I remember once going on this I sort of challenged myself to go on this big long bike ride, and I remember halfway through, I just saw this one hill going, I can't do this hill. But I was like, well, how many other hills you got to get here? Like, what's wrong with you? But I keep going. And so, but so that's, I absolutely love that, like pushing ourselves, finding those hills. But sometimes it's hard for people to see that. Is there any ideas or suggestions that you can help individuals sort of keep these things in perspective so we can keep pushing forward?
Sure. I mean, I love your example. Just like to say, like I've climbed to the previous hills, like so I'm going to allow that strength. So one of the things is to allow the strength within you to be strong when your human self doesn't know how.
Mm,
So, and I also want to honor and acknowledge, like you said, we're not making light of pain and we're not saying pain is easy, right? And
right.
every human has things that
Yes.
we go through that we wouldn't humanly choose to go through. So I just want to honor and respect that. That's completely true.
Yeah.
And then I would say, like, one way to put this maybe is that our human self may not choose these challenges. Our soul or the spirit within you, whatever your word for it is, the light within you, can always extract wisdom from any human experience.
Yes.
So one of the things to do then is to say, okay, spirit within me, like, okay, light
What's
within
up?
me, okay, soul,
Yeah.
like what's the wisdom that we're creating from this? And you can kind of have a conversation with yourself and keep your sense of humor, and there almost always is wisdom that comes out of it, even in those human things that we absolutely would not choose. And so that can help. But then also just to say, like, boundless strength is within me. And
Mm,
so even if my human self is feeling really tired right now, I'm asking boundless strength within me to help me move forward. And then there's like this second wind or third wind, or maybe it's like the seventh wind that comes to you, and it just allows you to keep going. And I mean, I would say like that is the wind. Like humans do this quite frequently. Like that's the wind that allows parents to be patient, right? Or like that's the wind that allows a coach or a leader to be, like to reach down and to find exactly what inspiration the coach or the team or the business needs at that moment. Or, like if you're reaching down and you're grabbing inspiration to share with a family member,
right.
that's within you. And
Yeah.
we all are connected to it. And so just to say, okay, my human self doesn't quite know how to handle this,
Right.
but I'm going to ask this inspiration that's within me to share itself. And
Yeah.
then notice what happens. Like your human self will be surprised. I can pretty much guarantee.
Yes. Yes. It's ultra. I agree with you so much, because it's you we oftentimes are surprised, like, oh wow, like this thing that I didn't think I could get past, I got past it, and now I'm looking on the other side and I'm going, what was the big deal? Like, right? So we talk about how we surprise ourselves. um And so where that kind of leads me, where I want to sort of talk about us being able to push beyond our limitations, right? There's
Yeah.
that threshold that we
Yeah.
say, okay, I've tapped out, I
Yeah.
can't go beyond that, and all of a sudden we do. How
Yeah.
is that able? How are we able to do that? Get past the things that we didn't think we could.
Well, so one of the things, and I can just give you like a really concrete example, but I'm asking listeners to connect with their concrete examples as
Okay.
well. I think that the mind can erect limits that, so in yoga class, like in yoga asana class, very frequently I'll hear a teacher say something like, "You are much stronger than you know."
Mm,
And if you just allow your body to do it and you sort of quiet your mind and you say, I'm not going to allow my mind to tell me I can't do this, I'm just going to invite my body and see if my body will do this. Your body frequently will be like, oh, I actually am much stronger than I realized. And I would say it's the same thing with our heart. Like our heart is connected with a supply of unlimited love. And this is like the love that is deeper and wider and vaster than all human experiences. So
hmm
it is the love that is stronger than human lifetimes. It's stronger than any human pain, and it's within us. Like it is within every single human heart. And so if we just sort of say, I'm going to quiet my mind, I hear my mind, it's telling me this is too hard. I'm
Right.
going to quiet it and I'm going to ask the limitless strength within me to be strong through me. And I'm going to ask this boundless love that is within me to be kind and bold and courageous through me. Audacious. I like your word audacious.
What
I'm
else
going
we
to ask
could?
it to be audacious through me. And then we will be delighted because we're sort of like moving beyond our human created limits. We're
Yes.
moving beyond them. We're temporarily setting them aside. And then we realize, oh, that was a sort of like self created limitation. And so I can set it aside. I would say for me, one of the words I would use is grace. And when I say grace, I
Mm,
just mean that there's like this love and this wisdom that is stronger than what the human mind is able to see. And so each of us, like regardless of our faith tradition or our spirituality tradition, every human is connected to love and wisdom that is bigger than what the human mind can see. And so if you just keep making that connection, it makes it possible to transcend and go beyond limits.
and so the part I love when you talk about love, so love, yeah, the part I talk when you say love, what I enjoy and appreciate is what that now, uh, and how rather it can impact our relationships positively. Right. So all of what we've been talking about up to this point is what we're doing for ourselves, being one with ourselves, practicing mindfulness and all these sorts of things. But what it also, but the next step now is how that can positively impact our relationships. And now we're having positive impact because of these ripples. Let's sort of talk about the significance of how these help, nurture our relationships.
Absolutely. So, one of the things you said earlier was we gain the ability to be quiet and present with ourselves.
Mhm.
And if we gain the ability to be quiet and present with ourselves, we gain the ability to be present with any other human.
Yes.
And giving a human the gift of your full presence. So, in terms of your relationships, like allowing yourself to be fully present with your kids or your parents or your partner, your neighbor, like anyone that you work with, anyone that you encounter, that is just the gift of a lifetime, that full presence. And what that does, the thing that just came to me is it sort of gets rid of the scripts. Like often I think when we interact with people, we kind of go on autopilot a little bit, and there's
Sure.
like a script that we could like go into. But if we are fully present, we are meeting that human for the first time. Like we still have, like if we have 50 years of relationship with them, we still have the 50 years of relationship with them. But meeting them for the first time, I actually saw this. I saw a couple, they've been married 50 years, maybe
Right.
even like 52 years now.
Mhm.
And they see each other first thing in the morning and they're like, oh, sweetie, it's so good to see you. So to greet a person you've been with for 52 years and as if it's like, oh, it's so fresh. It's so amazing hello, sweetie. Good morning. And that's an example of just like the freshness and the beauty that comes in our relationships. If we're greeting ourselves in this way, then we're also able to greet others in this way too.
I love that. That provides such a wonderful image, and again, I'm just I truly am a big fan of how we can impact other people. And the thing for me, and I refer to this often, is by us living. Our bold, audacious selves and being that person that we're supposed to be in this world, and how we want to show up, we're giving permission for others to be the same, and we're inspiring them, and we're showing them what's possible. And maybe, just maybe, there was someone who was at a similar point, a point of indecision. They were kind of standing at the ledge and didn't know, and they saw you, and that gave them a fuel to move forward. Very quickly, I have another story. A friend of mine, she had worked in, she was an accountant in the corporate sector for many years. Didn't find any kind of happiness or fulfillment at all, but she did it because it was a job. She knew of an individual, didn't know this person personally. She heard a story of a person that she knew of that had also was in the accounting field, but and wasn't also getting that satisfaction, fulfillment, and left that and focused her practice and started up her own business, and working for not-for-profits and helping not-for-profits from an accounting standpoint. And she loved that story. She was inspired by that and wanted to do the same thing. So as she was kind of sharing that with us, I was like, let's stop for a second, listen for a second. Like, in that, it's probably safe to say that before that person took that step, they probably had similar feelings and similar questions and were wondering, is this the right move? I'm not sure. But despite those feelings, they did it anyways. And they've now launched, and they're very happy. You don't know this person, you never met this person, but you're getting inspiration from what they did. And that's the impact that we can have on people. Not because I know you and I'm trying to encourage people in my personal network. Yes, we can do that too, but it goes beyond that. And if the whole world is, everyone's doing this, and taking risks and being bold and doing all these wonderful things and happy and joy, like, the impact, that for me is what's so inspiring. It's the impact that we can have. It's just mind blowing.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And I think you're completely right. I think every time any human chooses, like, this is highest and best, and I'm going to go for it, that makes it possible for other humans to choose. Their highest and best might be a different thing,
Right.
but they're going to choose their highest and best and go for it. And we really do lift ourselves, but we also give everyone the opportunity to lift themselves and to lift the whole as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. A couple times in the conversation, I heard you use the expression "the wind at our backs," and I do love the imagery around that. What if you could explain that a bit further? Because I do like that.
So I guess it's just the recognition that, and maybe this is an example of what you were talking about with the two accountants that you were talking about as well. When we are listening within, I would say that there's this ability for each of us to listen within and to connect with, like you were kind of mentioning, that it's possible for a human to be doing work and to be good at it and like maybe making a good living at it, but you just have this feeling of like, oh, I wish I could be of service in a different way. And so the example you gave was the accountants who decided to help and work for nonprofits, help nonprofits.
Yep.
So those people had to be listening within and sort of like having this feeling within of like, there's guidance for me, there's support for me, like there's a message for me within myself, and I'm going to listen to that message. And then as we listen to that message, and this is true for every human, we will receive feedback. We will receive this sort of like inner support, and we will receive feedback. So we'll make a choice. And to use that example that you were talking about, so then the accountants step forward, and then they start to create like this new network.
Right.
And then they step forward more, and like the network expands. And so it's like just, and that's the wind at your back. So like as you are choosing by listening to this voice within you, and it's like a voice within you that is pure, like it's a voice within you that is dedicated to being of service. It's a voice within you that is bright and honorable. and you will just be aligned with what is highest and best. And so like this energy of what is highest and best in others will also be meeting you. And so you might just like find yourself wherever you are, making connections and just finding like, oh, that's the perfect person that I need to talk to develop my business plan. And I just happened to run into them wherever it was. and
Right.
you,
Yep.
and it just works that way. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, and again, for me, it's being able to touch complete strangers, right?
Yeah.
That's the part that's just so thrilling. It wasn't intentional because we never have any idea or don't know. I mean, Swami, someone will hear this conversation between you and I and go off and do something spectacular, and we'll never know. Or we may never know. We might find out, but the point is the ability of what we can do just through. And again, and for me, this I'm just having a conversation. We start off by saying let's have a conversation and see where it goes, and to know that that can take people and elevate them is just, I mean, it's very humbling, I gotta say, for one, but it's just a thrilling feeling. It really is.
Isn't it beautiful? And so much respect and joy for you, for the way that you share your light and that inspiration. It's absolutely awesome. And then I agree. And I would say for listeners that it is undoubtedly the case that listeners are doing this in their daily lives. So listeners are being kind wherever the listeners are. And that is having a ripple effect that's going out and helping hundreds of people. And some of them you know about, like you might hear 2 years later or 10 years later,
Yeah.
and you might never know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you might
Yep.
never know, but you
Yep.
you will be moving in that energy of that kindness and that joy and that inspiration.
I mean, I certainly, and this may have been the case for you as well, but I can think of a number of instances where someone out of the blue will say to me, "Hey, that time you did this is what it did for me, and so thank you." And I appreciate hearing, but I'm like, I have no idea what this person's talking about. I don't remember consciously saying I'm going to do this to impact you in this way. And for me, that's what makes it that much more beautiful because we're just naturally being, right? Just naturally being, and by doing so, that's where we can have the greatest impact. And so I love that so much.
I completely agree with you. And I've heard other people say the same thing that they've been told years later, like, when you did this, it was so kind and it made such a difference. And they're like, I don't even remember. And
That's right.
what you're saying is like, it's such a beautiful testimony to the natural, spontaneous kindness and the power of that kindness. And if we're just being naturally, spontaneously kind, it'll happen and we won't even be thinking about it. So it'll just be like us being us.
That's right. That's right. And that's
Yeah,
and that really is the goal, right? For us to
yeah,
be us. So that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Oh man, that's a, so. I mean, I've so much enjoyed this chat, and I so appreciate you for taking the time to be here and the work that you're doing. And one last question I like to ask. I'd love to hear your thoughts. For that person who's listen to our chat and enjoy what we've had to say, and is all kind of on that cusp of making that decision, or taking that first step, or questioning their ability, whether or not they have the audacious inside of us to move forward. What would you say to that individual?
So I would say listen to that light within you. Like allow yourself to be in contact with that light within you and connect with that sense of peace, that sense of clarity. When we allow ourselves to be quiet and to become one with ourselves in the quiet, clarity arises. And when clarity arises, joy also arises. And there's just sort of like, as naturally as it becomes light in the morning, that light of awareness is present within us. And so, just step by step and moment by moment, if you keep connecting to that light, you will always find a way forward. And so, just keep trusting. And then you also, like, you make a choice, and then you also look at the outer circumstances and you evaluate again. So, you keep choosing, you keep listening, you keep like coming back to that courage and that motivation that you're here to be hopeful, you're here to be helpful, you're here to be of service, you're here to be kind. And that energy will help you move forward. It is amazing and it is absolute joy. And oddly, it's such a joy to talk with you, and much gratitude and respect to you and to your listeners.
Thank you so much, and again, I do appreciate you taking the time. Absolutely. For our listeners that wanted to sort of connect with you or learn more about your work, where can we send them, Swami?
Absolutely. So I am at Awake Yoga Meditation in Baltimore. Anyone who's in like the Baltimore, DC, Philly area, you're welcome to come in person to meditate with us. We talk about the things we talked about on this conversation today. So it's very practical, relatable, humans living in joy and peace in daily life. For online connecting with us, awakeyogameditation.org is our website, and we are on social media. So we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. So please like, share, and subscribe. And I know for Audley as well, please like, share, and subscribe for Audley. And everyone's welcome. So come meditate with us. It's amazing fun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Congratulations on all the work that you're doing, and keep it going, Swami. It is making a difference. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Back we're here on the podcast. So much thanks and appreciation goes out to Swami for being here and sharing your insights on being present in daily life, as well as how we can find joy in difficult times. It really was insightful stuff, and I appreciate you, Swami, for doing this. I really enjoyed the chat that we had, but if there's one thing I take from our conversation, it'd have to be this. In a world where technological advancements have made multitasking a norm, being present has become rare and a precious skill. However, the benefits of cultivating presence are profound. When we're truly present, we can experience life more deeply, form genuine connections, and make decisions based on clear understanding of what the current reality is. This heightened awareness allows us to tap into our intuition, creativity, and emotional intelligence, enabling us to approach challenges with audacity and confidence. One of the most significant impacts on being present is the ability to form authentic connections with others. When we're fully engaged in conversation or interaction, listening attentively and responding thoughtfully, we communicate respect and empathy. This in turn fosters trust and understanding, laying the groundwork for audacious collaborations and partnerships. Being present is essential for well-being. When we are mindful and fully engaged in the present, we can savor life's simple pleasures, find joy in everyday moments, and cultivate a sense of gratitude. This positive mindset can embolden us to pursue audacious goals and dreams, knowing that we have the resilience and clarity to navigate the challenges along the way. In conclusion, the power of being present and staying connected to the moment cannot be overstated. It's a transformative practice that empowers us to embrace audacious opportunities, nurture meaningful connections, and live that life to the fullest. By cultivating presence both in our personal and professional lives, we can unlock our full potential and approach each day with courage, authenticity, and a sense of purpose. So let's take a deep breath, center ourselves in the present, and dare to be audacious in our pursuit of a more fulfilling and impactful life. We've sadly come to the end of another episode of the most audacious podcast you'll find on the internet. And as always, I send my thanks and appreciation to all those lovers of audaciousness who for their tremendous support, because it really is appreciated. It's because of you folks we just keep going week after week. And so I say thank you. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.